My presentation is about the digital divide of Brazilian educators, a gap in the use and dissemination of information. Oh, I'm also, I have to use like this. Oh. Yeah. Information and communication technology have been impacting and transforming society since the beginning of the 21st century due to its strong focus on the use of computer and the internet in many fields of human knowledge. Paradoxically, such fact has contributed even more to increase the difference and contrast among those citizens who make use of technological advance and those who remain excluded from the process of digital inclusion. Okay? Find themselves in an informational limbo. Yeah. An expression which denotes a gap in the process of access and use of information. To ignore the technological advance is to deny the democratic access and the use of information communication technologies. Focusing on the field of education in Brazil, the scenario of educators' digital divide should be considered as a challenge to be taken on and reverted. The educational sector deserves a more critical look, where the use of the computer, the internet, and other media, such as the ICT, open wide perspectives for the technological growth, even in a country like Brazil, where diversity is a rule. The increase of digital divide is a consequence of public policies, which are sometimes inadequate to the Brazilian reality and of the discontinuity of programs for digital inclusion along some government mandates. The terms digital divide and digital inclusion have been largely used to refer to the process of having or not access to information and communication technologies. Gersten says that little will be achieved with programs for digital inclusion, which do not include actions for providing the population with the necessary conditions for the effective use of the ICTs. Such assertion applies well to the Brazilian situation and characteristics of a developing country. According to Silva Filho, the digital inclusion must be based on three pillars: information and communication technologies, income, and education. And I'm going to show some research, and I'm trying to put the data inside these three pillars. These are research according to the results of household use of information and communication technology in Brazil, carried out by the ICT household in 2007. Almost half of the Brazilians, 47%, have never used the computer. And we can see that television, 98%, radio, 89%, fixed line telephone, 45%, and computer, 24% of the population have a computer at home. And from these, only 17 are connected to the internet. And 59 have never navigated through the internet. The universe of the research has encompassed 17,000 Brazilian households. And this is about Brazilian in general. And we can see in this map, we see that 24 is the average, and then the north and northeast are below the national average, with north with 13% and northeast 11%. Above the national average, Southeast with 30%, South 31%, and Center East West 26%. Now I'm going to talk about Brazilian indicators. That is the focus of my concern. Sweden said that a simple distribution of computers to school does not guarantee the digital inclusion. Educators and learners have to change their mindset so that technology can take on its role as a means and not an end in itself. Brazil, a country with a continental dimension, shows enormous variety of population concentration. Regions with different climate characteristics, poverty belts, income concentrations in big cities, and such disparate situations in terms of human, social, economic, and educational development, among other indicators, that can claim that inside Brazil there are many different Brazils. In the face of such scenarios, promote the digital inclusion represents a challenge that will require a concentration of public and private efforts in order to put an end to the delay and to restore the professional and socio-economic dignity of Brazilian educators.
That's a good quote, and we'll do a test on this afterwards. We'll do an exam at the end, right? Educators and learners have to change their mindset so that technology can take on its role as a means and not an end in itself. I bet 90% of what we heard today is actually talking about technology as an end in itself and not a means. I mean, if it was going to be a means, we'd start closing down a lot of the schools and reorganizing what we do with our human resources, people we call teachers. But we don't do that. I mean, the colleague from the United States stood here and talked about the professors making courses to put out on the computer. But they're making the same courses today as they made 40 years ago, only they're sending them out on the computer. I mean, I interrupted because it's easy just to let that run by. But it's not the learners are the problem. The learners can change their mindset. Most of the learners are too young to have a different mindset. But can you get the educators to change their mindset so that technology can take on its role as a means and not an end in itself? Too good to let it go by.
The scenario of the digital divide, in which a great part of the Brazilian indicators is included represents a gap in the process of entering the information society. Now, another research from Latin American Technology Information Net, que é HITLA, que é a Rede de Informação Tecnológica Latino-Americana, has analyzed the data collected by the National Research by Household Sampling of 2005. And this research shows that around 3.2 million education professionals worked in Brazil in 2005. More than a half of them, 54.1%, like professors who teach in higher school courses, 93.9%, and in professionalized course claimed to have accessed and used the internet in the 3 months just before the research. Educators who work with primary and secondary school presented the lowest rates of access and use of the internet, 29.4%. The rate of access to the, just like we have observed with the access to computer, in the wealthiest regions, South and Southeast, the rate of access to the internet was 65%. in the north and northeast regions, it hardly reached 35%. And Brasilia, the capital, took the lead with 75.6% of educators having access to the internet, followed by São Paulo and Santa Catarina with 70%. The geographic location and economic situation are the main determinants of the access to the internet among Brazilian educators, conclude this research, which shows that 48.3% of educators have a computer at home, but only 37.8% have an internet connection from home. And about these three pillars that I said before, education, information, and communication technology, and income, I'm going to show some data. The research report on the situation of primary school professional in 2003 report the situation of the primary school professionals, have interviewed 4,656 people. The average age group of the teachers is between 40 and 59 years old, and 53.1% of the total, as opposed to 2.9% between 18 and 25 years old. This brings the certainty of the lack of teaching professionals into the spotlight. It is already in a critical situation, be it due to the increase of the demand for public teaching or due to the lack of qualification of teachers and their low pay rates, make this professional one of the least chosen in the rank of professional choices. And we can see this. Academic training. Higher education training is required of the Brazilian education law and guidelines. Now we see here for teachers of the primary and secondary school. And the 10 states researched, 67.4% of the teachers have completed high school. When looking into detailed data by federative units such as Rio Grande do Norte, 81%, and Paraná, 79%, it can be observed that of the areas researched, these two states contribute with the higher rates of the teacher with higher education. Only in Piauí, 44% of the teachers have this level of training defined. This one. Level of income. This level of income is 1997. That changes, but not so much. Careers and salary paid to primary school teachers in the beginning of their career in comparison to other developing countries like Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, are lower than in this country. In the ranking, Brazil is ahead only of Indonesia. The situation is even grave if we compare domestically the difference in the salary paid to teachers from different states. The state of Piauí pays 85% of the teacher salaries below $106. With such low salary, it is less prediction that it's an observation that the teaching class, be that municipal, state, or federal employees, is not treated adequately by the public policies of the sector, which erroneously ignore the digital divide, academic professional training, adequate pay rates, and especially free access to information and use of information communication technology. The last one. Teachers who took part in the research, almost half, 48.3%, do not have any access to a computer. The numbers increase when we look carefully into the data sorted by federative units research, where 66% of the teachers do not have a computer. In Piauí, this rate reached 70%. The research established a relation of cause and effect between the socio-economic situation of the professionals involved in the participating states and their level of digital inclusion. The best rates are assigned to the western regions, southeast and south. According to the data, it's possible to claim that the gaps in the educational system and the digital exclusion are much larger than what is actually acceptable, as well as the scenario in which teachers and students are digitally excluded. There is also the problem of teachers and of children and teenagers being totally left out of the educational system, which increase our negative balance when it comes to social exclusion and democratic access of use and information. The last one. The digital divide of Brazilian educators is a reality that deserves a more sustainable and continued treatment on the part of public policies directed to the sector. Just think that the mere possession of technological information and communication equipment by Brazilian teachers will redeem and take this professional out of the informational limbo is to ignore that other inequalities shake the pillars of digital inclusion. On the other hand, the possession of technological tools is a great step if taken together with the training of these professionals and the minimization of the adverse factor of their low pay rates. Together, this could allow for and facilitate the digital inclusion. That's it.
Okay, thank you.